Bryn Law, are you there?
I am indeed. Hi, how are you?
Excellent, excellent. So, long introduction made short. Welcome to Wrexham. This was all very strange, obviously, looking in from afar when they arrived. And I think probably Wrexham fans included, we were all wondering what's the motivation here for Reynolds and Rob McElheny?
Well, from the all the readings, and then based on a couple of conversations I was lucky enough to have with the guys when I watched the game with them a couple of weeks ago, they wanted a project where they could make a real difference. But I think they wanted a project where they could make a real difference, not just to a football club, but also to its community. And Wrexham was not necessarily, well, it certainly wasn't the only name on the list that they looked at. They had people who drew up a short list for them of places they might go and look at investing in. But Wrexham ended up as the lucky recipient of their attention and their investment. And we've seen already clear signs that this is not just necessarily about spending loads of money on getting Wrexham up the divisions. One of the conversations I had with Rob McElheny a couple of weeks ago was around the place itself, the town of Wrexham, or the city, as it is officially now to be known. When he said that we, think this is a great place. We would love people to be able to stay here and live here. And the clear inference was that was a part of the thinking as well now. So I think we're only scratching the surface of this one, I've got to tell you.
So it's easy to be cynical. For instance, Deadspin reviewed the documentary. Sam Fells, their journalist, wrote, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElheny are really nice guys. And if you don't believe it, just ask them. The series is not so much a sports documentary as a vehicle for the celebrity owners to show how likeable they are. And I was reading as well that the documentary had been planned even before the takeover was complete. So I presume Wrexham fans looked at this and thought, well, really, we're just the prop here in a pre-arranged documentary.
No, I don't think that's the case at all, to be honest with you. I don't think Wrexham fans feel anything like that.
Right.
There are those who have their suspicions. There are probably more people beyond the football club who have their suspicions. Listen, I've been a journalist for 30 years. I do cynical better than most. But as a Wrexham fan, I've seen a succession of rotten owners. And I've also seen that when we took control of the club ourselves as football supporters, because prior to Rob and Ryan coming in, the club was owned by the fans as Supporters Trust had taken control. And for a long time, I was a part of that Supporters Trust. But I began to see the reality of where we were heading, perhaps before one or two others did, in terms of the finances. We just weren't making any headway with it. We weren't getting anywhere. The club was stagnating, not progressing. So this opportunity that's been handed us as Wrexham supporters, and I've been following the club since 1979, was incredible. It's given us the chance to finally get the club pushing in a forward momentum again, and that's not been the case. I mean, if you'd have asked me 24 months ago now, I would have been really, really pessimistic about the future of the club at all, whether there was any sort of future for the football club. But now I feel confident that in the long term, and not just around series 1, 2, 3 or 4 of Welcome to Wrexham, but in the long term, this investment can make a significant difference to the football club. And by the way, they are really nice guys. And if they come across that way, well, then so be it. But that is my impression of them.
Wrexham, the oldest club in Wales, I was reading as well, Bryn, and they're in the National League, so the 5th tier. And the English Football League is very much the aim here. That is what Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElheny and the club at large are desperate to do. So how much have they invested over the last year or so? Like, how different a club is Wrexham to when the two boys first took over?
Well, it's a very different football club. I mean, there are certain aspects that are no different. The stadium pretty much looks exactly as it did when they arrived, which is better than most at that level, but a little bit run down nevertheless. Some of the stands have been there since I started going to the football club, and even before that, in the 70s. So there's work needs to be done there. On the pitch, things are very different now. They are spending money on players, and we are now running what will probably be comfortably, I would imagine, the highest wage bill in the National League. And we've been pulling players from League One, 2 divisions above, good players from League One as well, by the way. So there are obviously attractive contracts being offered by the owners at Wrexham, but it's a means to an end. One of the things that they're very, very excited about, and you'll see it in the documentary, and they talked about it when I was with them a couple of weeks ago, is that English football, and this is a Welsh-based club, which they're also keen to emphasise, but English football offers the chance to go from the level Wrexham are at now and have been at for 15 years, the fifth tier, non-league, if you will. But you do have the opportunity to progress the team all the way to the Premier League. Now, this is a concept that's very difficult for Americans to grasp because it just isn't possible at any level of professional sport in North America. But they have that opportunity here. They want to try and take that opportunity.
And what's your sense, Bryn, of how hands-on they are?
Well, it's difficult to be hands-on when you're kind of however far LA is away from Wrexham, but they have their people on the ground. One of the very first things they did when they finally signed the heads of agreement had all been sorted and they were officially taking over, they had people ready to go into the football club, because previously the football club had been completely volunteer run, because it was the Supporters Trust who were running the club. So everyone was volunteering their time. So they brought in football professionals, people with experience in the game. So Sean Harvey was one of the first appointments there, guy who was previously top man at the Football League. So there was experience came into the club right from the word go, to make sure that they had people who understood the football industry. Because one of the things they've been very honest about is that they don't really understand what they've got invested in here. They don't understand the game. You do need some awareness of how it all works to make it happen properly. So they're asking people questions, they're asking for assistance all the time. And I'm happy with that.
I was reading a couple of reviews of the documentary, and, well, I suppose almost akin to Sunderland Till I Die, what seems to have registered and gone down best with the various reviewers are the fans who contributed their own experiences supporting Wrexham and talking about what the club means to them. It seems one gentleman in particular has registered with a few different reviews I read, where he's in the midst of going through a divorce and not seeing his children, and he's pretty frustrated with his job as well, and Wrexham is a lifeline for him, and stories like that seem to have really copped something every bit as much as here's Ryan Reynolds being funny.
Well, I know that's one of the aspects that is most excited, if that's the right word. It probably isn't in a sense, but as most engaged is a better word, most engaged the owners, because what they've gone into, they haven't necessarily done it. They've had a team of people on the ground who've been living the poor people in Wrexham for the best part of 2 years, making this documentary series. So nobody can say that they haven't kind of embedded themselves in the entire community, not just in and around the football club. So they've been in there asking questions, and they've been digging around, and they've been finding interesting people to talk to. And they've realised throughout the process that for many people in Wrexham, the football club is it. Football's absolutely in the DNA of Wrexham. You can talk about Newcastle, Glasgow, Manchester, Liverpool, these places where everyone says, oh, hotbed of football. Let me tell you, I grew up in Wrexham. It's every bit the same. They were playing football in Wrexham. Well, you've got the date on the badge of the Wrexham crest here, 1864. One of the earliest football clubs going. It's one of the earliest areas that they ever started playing football in the world is in the Wrexham area. All the villages around, the village I grew up in, Druids played there. History, football embedded in the DNA of the community of Wrexham. So people are absolutely invested in the football club. It's been small numbers, it's been bigger numbers, but there are a hardcore of people absolutely for whom Wrexham is life. And they've been able to find some of those people. And remember that really primarily, this series is aimed at the American market currently, or a global market at least. So they want to tell these stories about the town, about the people who live in the town and support the football club, as much as they want to tell the story about what happens to the football club.
Very good. Well, listen, I'm looking forward to checking it out, and hopefully Wrexham are back in the Football League very, very soon, and this thing takes off. It'll be certainly interesting. Bryn, thanks so much for the time. Much appreciated.